ones, cause they're free. Happy seen for eternity. Without God and His Son Jesus, everything is peaceful and lightness. Happy always doing His will. Happy always doing His will.
For this very warm welcome, we are here at season 16, episode 10, and tonight we have such a treat because these are very quiet spoken women, but they have a very powerful life that they're going to share with you tonight. It's amazing what these women have done. So please join me in welcoming Jayne Dubois, Marianne Parsons, and Kristen Price. So we are here at the holiday season, and we were looking at some statistics. You got two phenomenons going on. Number one, you've got a lot of Americans that don't even see themselves as overweight anymore. So the blinders are coming down, and they're not interested. Where you used to have like 60% or more were trying to, get their weight off. Now it's dropped down to 40. They're losing momentum, and they don't care anymore. And so that's a very sad thing because they don't see it. They don't see their greed. And then you've got another thing going on that where people used to lose weight after the average weight gain during the holidays is 5 to 10 pounds. And nowadays, the New England Journal of Medicine did a nice little study, and they found that people are not getting it back off. So it just sticks. So that 5 to 10 pounds gets on, they can't get it off. But in this particular case, I've got several testimonies here that defy all those statistics. And the weight loss, I want to spark your interest. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little sampling here because we're looking at over 100 pounds, 110, 80, and 110. So we're talking about a lot of weight loss. And so I want you to hear their stories. We're going to start with Jayne Dubois.
I'm so excited to be here, Gwen. I realized that next month is my 25th anniversary.
Wow.
Of my first weigh down class.
Wow.
Very first
That's
weigh down
amazing.
class.
And me being only 30 years old,
I know,
that made me
I know.
like,
Exactly, we're just like that. But my story, I was put on a diet when I was 12, and I became a very good dieter. Of course, I couldn't keep anything off. I was up and down, yo-yo. I knew how to diet. But when I first heard about Weigh Down, I learned how to fall in love with God. I learned how to transfer a relationship with food to a relationship with God. I started, as I said, in a class in 1995. I took several classes. The majority of the weight came off in about 18 months. I had a few bumps along the way, but I stayed in the class. And that's where the greatest hope was. And the permanence came with the persistence and the perseverance and then the staying plugged in. And at that time, there weren't as many resources through Weigh Down as there are now. Now there are just tons more at your fingertips. And I love every one of them. Life with Gwen and Joe. I love the Desert Oasis. You have so much on Weigh Down TV, et cetera, et cetera. But I stayed in a class all these years. And they never get old because God always reveals something new in my heart every time, where it's all based on God's word and it's living and active. So the things that God's revealing to me now are not the same things that He showed me 15, 25 years ago. And so I get to learn more about myself and how to change to be walking in the steps of Christ. And again, the relationship with God through Christ is what is the most treasured possession of all. Never mind the weight loss. The weight loss has been a side benefit to everything that God has given through this program, and I cannot scream enough about how it works, and it works permanently. I never thought that would be true for me, but it definitely was true for me, and I had failed on so many other levels before I started a class. So 25 years later, the
It's
weight's still off.
off. And just, you look so young. I mean, what God does with this is it's just amazing how it's kind of like one of those ageless things. And so 25 years, and it's been permanent.
It has
So,
been permanent.
and there's the word that America's missing. And that because they don't believe it, they actually, it's called truth in advertising. And these people that monitor stuff will not allow us to say permanent weight loss because they don't believe in something like that. And they say that's unrealistic. And so you've got to take that off there. And I'm sitting there going, hey, you know what? It's not unrealistic. There is a ton of hope that people that are watching the Overcome show can be exactly like these ladies up here. So that's extremely powerful. So thank you, Jayne. That's beautiful.
Well, my name's Kristen Price. Originally from Minnesota, here in Tennessee now. And my first exposure to Weigh Down was in 1999. I was overweight, miserable, mom of 2 young babies in a new town, and I didn't know anybody, and I just felt sorry for myself, and it was a miserable life. And so one Saturday, I had told my husband that he's staying home with the kids, and I'm going out, and I'm going to my office, which was Barnes & Noble at that time, somewhere to get alone and read, and I had a particular book that I was looking for, and when I got to Barnes & Noble, I could not, for the life of me, remember the name of the book. I couldn't picture it. There was nothing about it I could remember. And all I could see was a Weigh Down Diet book on the shelf. So I've kind of figured, okay, God, you want me to take this off the shelf. And so I reluctantly did, but I ended up reading probably half of the book in the store that day, and it changed my life. Like from there, I got into a class, lost probably half of my weight, and my whole life improved dramatically. And I guess I figured maybe this is as good as it gets. Fast forward now, another baby, and baby with health problems. And so I had been turning apparently to food, unbeknownst to me. I didn't realize that the scales were creeping back up again. And I stepped on the scale one day, and this was in the summer of 2001, and I had gained almost all my weight back, and I was blind to it. And so I got back onto the computer, and I'm thinking, what's happening with Weigh Down? I don't think there are classes around right now, and what's going on? And they had Weigh Down Advanced coming out in the fall. And so I was like, okay, this is, I fit all the criteria for this whole program. Like, I was stubborn, gained my weight back. I'm like, I got to get a class. I got to get into this class. And so I think I begged somebody at the Weigh Down office to let me co-coordinate the class. And it really was there that I saw that it was my greed, my sin, and that it was my church allowing it, and they weren't confronting me, and I was like, okay, I want to find a church that teaches this, and so I did. I think I called the number at the end of a Weigh Down Advanced video that said find a form of fellowship, and got in touch there with the Weigh Down office, and they got me in touch with Debbie Blair. I was in Minnesota at the time, and by that spring I'd lost all my weight, and that was 2002, and so it's been off since then, and my marriage is so much better, my children are so much better, just an amazing, blessed life. Very thankful.
That is amazing. 80 pounds later, that's amazing. So, okay, Miss Mary Ann.
My name is Mary Ann Parsons, originally from Canada. When I was living up in Canada in the early 96, I had given up hope. I just said to God, I'm going to be fat 45 kids forever. And I just given up. My prayer was that mostly God would let my life be spared, that my children would be old enough to take care of themselves. In February of '97, my neighbor came over and she mentioned this weight loss program, but a Christian-based weight loss program in Eastern Canada. And I says, get it. We haven't tried that one yet. So the first orientation video, I knew it. There was something about it. And it talked about God's body and losing weight God's way. That just made so much sense to me. And there was also something about the Holy Spirit. So I took the first class. It was 12 weeks by then. I lost the first 50 pounds quite easily, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 7 pounds consistently. And when I was thinking about that today, one of the fun things, and I'm so grateful for, is that the next year I was pregnant with my 6th child. And I was losing weight while the baby inside me was growing. And we were both so healthy. And I delivered her when I was 44 years old. So I had my 6th child, my last pregnancy, doing it the way down way. And it was the funnest, the most peaceful, and it was so exciting. A few years as I coordinated classes and kept going, I came to a plateau. I'd lost the first 50 quite quickly. I came to a plateau and actually started gaining weight. And I knew there was a missing key. There was something. If the people on the video, like Jayne and David Martin, if they could lose the weight, I knew I could too. But more than that, I knew this was it. I knew this was God's way to lose weight and be healthy. And I cried out to God. And with me as well, it was the Way Down Advanced class. They mentioned something about Remnant Fellowship. I phoned in the next day. I got to talk to Jenny Mendel, and she shared about the body of believers is what was missing. I needed to be connected with others going on the same journey, because it wasn't a diet. It was a way of life in obedience and love to God and living His way. And that was when the rest of the weight came off. So it was 110 pounds. And for me, it was not, and I've said it before, but it wasn't adding way down to my life. It was making way down, which is mere Christianity and putting God first and learning to walk in the steps of Jesus Christ, making it my life. And then everything else falls into place. So I am so grateful. I got to move down here 3 years ago and become a U.S. resident. And I'm grateful to you and to God and to the fellowship.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful testimonies. So, it's amazing. So everybody's wondering, okay, so how did y'all grab a hold of that information? And then, what was it that helped you to just grab a hold of it and then just do it and not look back and not, gain it back? So, who wants to go first on that?
Don't quit. Just, I knew God wanted me to do it. I knew He'd help me to do it. I knew this was the only way. Just don't quit. Stumble, get up and get going again, and staying in a class. And really, being up in Canada, but even down here, just staying connected to others that are going on the same journey, because we're not talking diet, we're talking a way of life. I can be encouraged by others, and I can hopefully encourage somebody else. That's what it was for me. Just keep going. And in a class, and I loved doing the questions in the homework, in the study books. It just had me look inside to see, God would reveal things to me that needed to change, and change is fun. So that's what worked for me.
Okay, so way of life, it wasn't like this is something you just get up and do for a while and then you turn it back on. So your mind registered like a complete, this is the way I want to live. So I'm gonna get back up and I'm gonna do it again because I'm going to live this way. That's what I'm hearing you say. So, okay.
And I guess one time, during one of the Way Down Advanced classes that I was in, I remember one of the participants saying, yeah, I just got to keep the chocolate chip cookies out of the house. I just can't eat, And I just kind of was thinking, wait, like, didn't we just learn that when God, you don't have to get rid of the chocolate chip cookies, you just don't eat them. It was just that knowledge of this, God doesn't want you to eat when you're not hungry. Like, I guess it was that fear, it was that respect, it was that, I didn't know this before, but now I know that God didn't want me to overeat. And so that, like, he's put a boundary there. And I could start to see the boundaries that God had set. And I felt like that was freeing to me. And instead of trying to figure out how to make everything around me change, I had to change. No, God said no. Oh, it's cut and dry, So I just felt like it was cut and dry and just clear. And I appreciated that.
That's profound. That is beautiful. Thank you, Kristen. That's beautiful. I want to say that on this, since I do a lot of counsel, I can tell you that there's an odd phenomenon that goes on, because you take way down, and it's not like a simple little seminar where there's a 1, 2, 3, and there's only a 1, 2, 3, and you just do the 1, 2, 3. It seems a lot more complicated than that, and you kind of like go, just give it to me, just give me the 1, 2, 3, give me the 1, 2, 3, and there is a 1, 2, 3. You just missing it, and that's what I'm saying. There's a blinder that misses. They open it up, and all of the way down starts off with finding hunger and fullness. And then there are those that take the course and they literally will employ everything out there but that. And they will, I don't know, and so people that struggle, a lot of time, I will ask them how they're doing and what are they doing, and you'd be surprised to hear how many that are struggling, hunger and fullness is not in their vocabulary. They've been doing Way Down for years, and they wonder why they're struggling, and hunger and fullness is not a part of it. And so that is, I was glad to hear you say that, hunger and fullness, that you hung on to the hunger and the fullness, and people will work all kind of things. I'm going to fill out the workbook. I'm going to do this, but staying in the class needs to be staying in everything needs to be like tuned in to hunger and fullness, hunger and fullness, hunger and fullness. I mean, that you've got to be tuned in, because that therein lies the Spirit of God. Therein lies that obedience. Therein, when we're, and this is going to apply to across the board. Like, we deal with teenagers that are kind of like, losing it or out of control or whatever, and you'll notice that they're in tune to everything but their parents' voice of what their parents need them to do. And they're the children that never really had to listen to authority. They didn't have to listen to their parents. So they're lost. They're completely, they don't know up from down anymore. They don't know right from left. They don't know values. They lost that voice. They did not tune in to, parents, or maybe they do at a job or something like that, but it's like they pick and choose. So you're not really under authority because you're picking and choosing your authorities, but the same applies here. It's like going through all of Way Down and then missing that lead from God. That this whole thing was about getting in tune, and people get in there and they start to eat and they have a plate of food, and they may wait for hunger. I'm really hungry, but then there's nothing in tune to stopping. And they know no end to, like, as long as the food's in front of them, they keep going. And so then they wonder, why can't I lose? And then they start reading some more, and then they start trying to mix it, or they're looking for anyone or anything to help guide them, but they've missed the hunger and I would say that the common denominator is, I'm going to obey God. I'm going to do that hunger and fullness. And so, Jayne, help me out here.
Well, Well, I'm remembering what the grab for me was. First off, you said I never had to diet again and that I could eat whatever I wanted. And from there, you taught me that the growl is a voice from God prompting me to eat, and taught me to tune in and plug in and stay connected to when to stop. And I never had those boundaries before. And through Way Down, it was just, I learned that, God made chocolate. That the foods were there for enjoyment, but not for indulgence in terms of greed. The grab for me was that I didn't have to do any gimmicks. I was learning how to run after God and connecting the growl with his voice and connecting the hunger and fullness with a relationship with him, and then the blessings coming from the obedience and the prayers and the life, walking it out in learning what he wants and what he desires. That's priceless.
It's priceless. It is. And knowing that prayer is that relationship. Prayer is not just some religious sacrament. It is literally a relationship with God. And so these people trying to get through the night, and they pray in the morning, or they pray when they get up, or maybe if God wakes them tonight, but why not pray at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whenever that thing comes over you, where it's your desires are overtaking the brain and the brain becomes mush. I mean, learning that you've got to go in prayer, but your testimony tonight, your original, is about relationship with God. I mean, this whole thing, you've missed the entire point of hunger and fullness and authority. Authority is a relationship. Outside of authority, what is there?
There's nothing.
There is. I mean,
There's nothing.
You're grasping for. You are your own God, and you're like looking for. What? How fast am I going to drive down the street? Or you're looking. You're your own God. There's no boundaries, and so I don't have to obey a parent. So the insecurities abound in people that don't have that box that they're in. I know my mother's gotten a dog recently, and she said, "You're not going to believe how much that dog likes its boundary type of a little house that it goes in at night, and it wants to be in that little house at night." It's amazing how the animals like to get into their little nest or their little home. We like the boundary of our beds at night or whatever it may be. I mean, we're looking for, believe it or not, we're all looking for that place that we can go and we cannot go. But people that are told that is, you ought to have your freedom, and no one can tell you what to do, and no one should be telling you what to do, or they don't know when to be nice, when to be mean, when to be, they're socially out of it, and they are lost. They're very, very lost. They're not the ones that become successful. So we're talking about 110, 80 pounds, 110 pounds, lost it, kept it off. I'm hearing they all stayed in the class. Why? Why are you staying in that class? You're looking for that authority. You're looking for anything you can get to stay with that hunger and fullness. The people that don't long for that lifestyle, like you're talking about, Marianne, they're not longing for this to be. They want it to be something temporary so they can get back to doing what they want to do. And they've got two masters. They've got their own secret, food formula, and they are not going with hunger and fullness. And they basically are maybe trying to mix dieting with some of the principles here. But when you go to letting go of food laws and then going to hunger and fullness. Now, for those that are new, I want to go over just a little bit about the want and what to eat. And I had Gloria with me this week, spend the night. We got up and we went over the food rules because I was asking her does she know the basic 4 food groups. We went over them and we went over the breads and cereals. Then you had the milk and cheese, and then you had the meat and eggs kind of thing, poultry, and then fruits and vegetables. And so I was teaching her how just one hamburger would be all 4 food groups. And of course, then sometimes they'll say it's the 5 food groups, or they keep changing it, changing all. But the 4 seems simple to me, which was around for a long time. And so the body will want all 4 food groups, and that's just the way it is. The body is programmed to go after them. And then it'll also kind of want a little bite of something sweet at the end, and God made it that way. And it basically, that little bite of sweet, it normally is God. It feels like that God uses it to turn off the eating mechanism. It's almost kind of like that last little bite of sweet, then the whole eating desires and mechanism just kind of turns off. And that's not for breakfast necessarily, but a lot of times breakfast is such a high carbohydrate situation that you'll have some sweets and stuff in it, but that want for food, for those foods are gonna be there. And if you just took children, and I did it with my own, and then other kids coming to spend the night and all that kind of stuff, and you put the variety out there, they're gonna want that variety. So it's interesting how God has made that internal too. That's internal, the hunger's internal, the fullness is internal, and if you can't close your eyes and start listening, slow down and listen, then you're gonna miss the spirit on all of it. So all of these things are very, very helpful. I think we all know that fellowship, you say in the class and all that, it's unbelievable how God makes it where a foot cannot say to a hand, I have no need of you. That's found in 1 Corinthians 12. You think you can do this on your own? Well, you got another thing coming. I've been watching this for a long time, and there's something about this community of people that are wanting to put God first and wanting a relationship and finding this relationship through hunger and fullness is incredible because it's interactive. It is totally, all these kids gaming and doing all this kind of stuff and looking for an interaction. How can you miss the fact that this whole kingdom of God, this whole kingdom that's inside of you, that everything about it is interactive? And it is amazing. It is so fun and it's so comforting. I mean, I just know, like, sometimes I'm in like this incredible like high mood, and then sometimes I'll be very hurting, and I'll just say, God, could you just comfort me? God, could you just, it's amazing what comes from this interaction with the divine in the heavens that is the creator of it all. It's mind-boggling to me that we even get the opportunity, and it comes through purity. Well, what we would like to do, all of us tonight, would like to encourage you to join us, join what we're doing. We decided to make it a lifestyle. We decided to make this what God's doing. Jesus said, I have a food. He said, I have a food that you don't know what it is. He goes, I've got a food you don't even know about. It's an incredible passage. Jesus said in John 4:32, I have a food to eat that you know nothing about. That's intriguing. You know nothing about it. Then he goes on to say, my food, Jesus said, is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. All of that makes things outside of you. It makes an incredible life beyond you, and it gives you this incredible life with God. And so we urge you to join us in choosing this lifestyle, making this a part of your life, and into like finding the inside of you and it is intriguing. It is exciting. It is real. It is a real God. And these are ordinary people that overcame. They're ordinary. They're not, there's nothing, they're made just like you and me. But they stuck with it. They kept going. Like Marianne said, if you fall down, you just get right back up, because what does a fall down matter? It doesn't make any difference. You're gonna be doing this the rest of your life anyway. So quit trying to make this some quick weight loss, even though it is a quicker weight loss than almost anything out there. But quit that mindset and go with, I'm gonna make this hunger and fullness. I'm gonna make this a relationship with God, finding exactly what he wants. And if he says, shut it down at 7 o'clock at night, then that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find it and find the blessings from it. So we found it. We want you to join us. We want you to just keep going, get back up, and we'll see you next time we do the Overcome Show. Thanks for joining us.
You can overcome. Open. Angels dance 'cause they're free. Happy sing for eternity. Without God and his son Jesus, everything is peaceful and lightness. Happy always doing his will. Happy always doing his will. Overcome. Up in heaven, angels dance 'cause they're free. Happy sing for eternity. Without God and his son Jesus, everything is peaceful and lightness. Happy always doing his will.